Just 2 nights ago, we got to see the debate, the debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And I don't think that we really want to spend a lot of time talking about it. I think that we're going to be flooded with a whole lot of commentary and a whole lot of dissection of the debate that happened. And to be quite honest, my quick 2 cents is that neither one of them, in my opinion, really performed all that well. I just don't. I just don't think that there was any good conversation about how the American people are going to benefit from either one of them being in office. I feel like they spent their time fighting with each other, much like everyone probably expected. What I do want to talk about is something that has been on my mind for a little while now. And full disclosure, I've been on vacation, and so I haven't made any comment about this yet. But it's so frustrating. The we all know about what happened at Appalachia High School, right? This kid went in and shot up the school, killed his classmates, wounded others. And on my other podcast, on my other show over on Rumble, the Richard Leonard Show, I have talked a couple times about the security at our schools, the security of our children, and how we could maybe have a better plan to secure these places that we entrust with the safety of our kids every day. Now, full disclosure again, I don't have any kids in school. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have one who's in college, but I don't have any kids in public school, in high school, elementary school, anything like that. They've graduated and have moved on to the next stages of their lives. In fact, I'll be a grandfather very shortly. But we live in communities where strangers have full access to our children. During the school year, in many cases, more than their parents do. And we put these kids on buses, we let them walk to school. Many high school students drive themselves to and from school. And it doesn't seem like this influx of violence that's happening in schools has been taken very seriously. And I don't want to make it sound like I don't think anybody's paying attention to this, because quite certainly the parents of these kids who are falling victims of this violence, and the classmates of the kids who were falling victims of this violence, those families and those parents and those people are affected. But there are a lot of schools in our country. And I understand also that many public schools in our communities have community resource officers. So did Appalachia High School. And I'm also not going to sit here and say that they failed at their jobs, because I don't know 100% of the details. Some would say that the fact that there are people who are dead and injured, and many, many other children and other adults, teachers and faculty of this school, whose lives are now forever changed because of this event, they were affected. So how do we better secure our schools? How do we make the places where our children go to and spend a large amount of their time away from us, away from their parents, away from their families. They're entrusted to these people to make them better, contributing members of society. Or at least that's what we're told that they're doing. And the whole conversation about what our kids are being taught is probably best saved for another conversation, because I think that that's a whole different hill of beans, so to speak. But over on my other show, I've spoken about giving that responsibility to a community of people who have, at one point in their lives, taken on the burden of the security of our nation. They put that responsibility on their own shoulders. Took the responsibility of draping daily over our country this proverbial blanket of freedom. Draping it over this country. You can rest in peace tonight because these men and women stand watch all over the world. But we know that when our military careers are over, many veterans look for a new mission. They look for a new way to serve their communities. Why would we not have conversations about putting veterans in those spots? Why would we not try to create jobs for a community of people who are in need of jobs? Maybe some of them are in need of jobs that are designed specifically for the skill sets in which they were taught. Skill sets that they were taught by the very government, the very institution that is charged with the responsibility of making our children safe while they're at school. Why don't we put them there? Why don't we have conversations about how to do proper background checks and testing and proficiency testing, medical evaluations, and all these other things to ensure that the folks that are in charge of our children's security are able to do the job. Now, I don't think that every person in this country who has at one point in their life wore a uniform of the United States military is somebody that is qualified to roam a school on patrol, make sure it's secure, and then be able to effectively respond in case of an emergency, such as happened at Appalachia High School. But I'm quite certain that we can find more than enough that will meet the requirements, that will take the job serious, and will, for sure, without a doubt, make the places in which our kids spend their time safe. And I suppose that maybe one could say that I am saying that the resource officers of this school failed because there are dead kids. And a lot of people affected, as we said. But what was the plan? What was the SOP for the security of this building? What was the response plan? What was the plan for accountability of the people in the building when and if an emergency happened? What were the lockdown procedures? How was that building to be secured? And maybe this kid just, he goes to school there, so he's going to walk through the doors. Nobody's going to maybe question him. From all reports and the things I've read and seen, he was kind of a loner, didn't really talk to anybody. But now that this has happened, a lot of people don't seem to be surprised. We're starting to learn a lot about his personal life, his background, his parents, what his home life looked like. There's a lot of folks out there that are saying it's not a surprise at all that this young fella did what he did. Look at where he came from. And I also don't get into the habit of telling anybody how to raise their kids. But clearly there's something missing in this household. These parents were missing something. And maybe it's true that this particular time there just wasn't a better defense. But there certainly is a whole lot of other opportunity for things to go bad in schools all over this country. And I guess I would like to know if that is something that parents are asking. Are parents asking those questions of school administrators, of local police departments, local fire departments? I mean, it's possible that schools can start on fire too, I suppose. If we as Americans and we as just parents value the safety and security of our children like we say we do, why are we not having conversations about how to make them the most safe that they can be when they are out of our sight? And as kids grow, of course, they're in your presence less and less. They have extracurricular activities, there's sports, there's clubs, there's time with friends, there's kids start working their little jobs after school. And then, of course, as they get much older and are able to start driving, they're gone all the time. So why do I got to be at home? I could drive. I can go wherever I want. But when we're talking about our little kids, for sure, I believe that these are conversations that we should be having. We should be asking these questions. And maybe not just of our schools and the people that work in them, but maybe we should be asking these questions all the way up the chain of command. Maybe we should be asking our state legislatures. Maybe we should be asking our county commissioners. Maybe we should be asking our mayor's offices of the cities that we live in and city councils and school boards. Would any of you be surprised if you went to a school board meeting in your local community, for example, and asked questions about a detailed security plan for the school that your children attend? Would any of you be surprised if they didn't have it on hand? I wouldn't be. Would any of you be surprised if you even got one within 48 hours of asking the question? I might be a little surprised. And maybe there are communities out there where these things are readily available to parents. But I think that when we have issues in this country like homeless veterans and veterans who are struggling to keep jobs because the mission that they seek after their service just doesn't seem to hit right. It just doesn't seem the same. It doesn't seem like service. Maybe something like this could give them a new mission. It could give them something to feel accomplished by. Maybe this is a good place for veterans to continue their service. If there's one thing that I can speak to as an infantry soldier. We could sure secure the hell out of a building. If you had a small group of grunts and you tell them, we secure this building, limited access, checkpoint here, checkpoint there. We're going to identify everyone that comes in this place. No exceptions. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up with a list of things that we need to secure this place. And things to secure this place that don't make it look like a war zone. We're not gonna lace the place with barbed wire or anything like that. But there's creative ways to make barriers or funnels. There's ways to make to make sure that directions of travel go this way, that way, wherever it is that you want folks to go to get to where you want them to be. It's all possible. And maybe sometimes it would seem a little extreme. It would seem a little aggressive. But I would then ask, to what lengths do we go to protect our children? I think it's pretty clear that this type of violence, that this type of thing, it doesn't know social economic boundaries. It doesn't know geographical boundaries. It doesn't know race. It doesn't know gender. It doesn't know any of that bullshit. So none of that matters. It doesn't seem to matter where you are. It doesn't seem to matter how much money the parents make or the median income in the neighborhood. None of that matters. You see, the people that mean to do our children harm and mean to wreak havoc in our communities, they know. They know what we as Americans value most. We value our elderly, we value our children, and we value our sick. Schools, hospital, and places where old folks gather. Retirement communities, maybe. Wherever the best cup of senior coffee is served. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I don't know what the right answer is, folks, but I do know this. That if we don't start to have more conversations with the powers that be about the safety and security of our children when they are at the places that they spend majority of their time during the day out of the custody of their parents, if we don't start talking about how secure they are and how safe they are or are not and ways to fix those things, this kind of violence is going to keep happening. Many people say that it's a mental health crisis. This poor kid was suffering from mental health issues, and that may be true. That does not negate the fact that the places where the children who are not suffering from mental health issues are gathered don't need to be safe. They deserve to be safe as well. So maybe this is something that we can talk about. We can talk about around the water cooler. We can talk about with our friends and family. We can go to these meetings, to the city council and the school boards. It's election season. If you have children that are in school, hopefully all of you do. Your kids are being educated some way, somehow. And these people who want your vote, upcoming vote in not a very long amount of time. Maybe when they come knocking on your door to ask for your vote, these are the types of questions you ask. Candidates are making their rounds. town halls, online. I get texts all the time from candidates. Hey, can we? Is there anything that we could do better for you? If you had to pick one issue, what would it be? Well, I don't know. If I had small kids, this would be a pretty big issue for me. I'm about to be a grandfather, so it is going to be a very big issue for me. I have people in my family who are teachers, so they're in school, so this is a big issue for me. Put men and women in our schools that will take the security of the people that work there and the kids that attend school there, the folks that will keep their security and top hand, at the top of their mind, at the top of their list, put them there and let them protect the future of our country. Because that's what these folks are. The people working there are shaping them, and the students are going to be the ones that are making the decisions, folks. When we are old, sitting in wheelchairs and laying in beds and shitting our pants, these are the folks that are going to be making decisions about what happens in our country. And they'll never learn how to be contributing members of society in an effective way if they're worried about their safety. The men and women who have served this country in combat or not in combat, but were ready to do so if needed to, I believe would do a great job at securing these places. Ask the question. If we don't ask the question, we'll never know. If we don't bring it up and start talking about it with the people that can change it, it'll never change. How important are our children to you? I guess we'll see. But nothing will happen if we don't ask the question. Good night.